Most students struggle with answering common word questions, especially discuss, comment, and evaluate. We will go over the formats as well as how you can answer these questions and achieve full marks. Beginning with the common word discuss. Firstly, before attempting any common words, you must recall the topic the question is from. For example, it may be from circulatory system or plants. Then, if you are provided with any statistical information like graph or tables, you should analyze the trend and the overall pattern. Like, does it show an increasing trend or a decreasing trend? Is there any fluctuation or no change at all? After that, you should describe this pattern in the first sentence, then analyze the possible reasons behind the trend and explain it. For example, if smoking increases the risk of cardiovascular diseases, it can be due to nicotine causing atherosclerosis. Finally, you should also talk about the experimental design. Is it reliable enough, such as the length of the study, sample size, and validity? Here's a sample question from May 2024. Here we can see a table with numerical data, and we need to discuss the relationship between altitude and mean mass of hemoglobin as well as altitude and mean number of red blood cells. Let's look at a candidate's answer that scored full marks. As altitude increases from sea level to 1,890 meters, mean mass of hemoglobin and number of red blood cells increases. However, as altitude increases from 1,890 meters and 2,270 meters, mean mass of hemoglobin and mean number of red blood cells in both men and women decreases. However, it is still higher than sea level. This is the description of the trend. Then we move on to the explanation. The increase due to change in altitude is caused as level of oxygen decreases with altitude. As a result, people at higher altitude are more adapted to having more red blood cells and a higher mass of hemoglobin, which carries more oxygen for respiration. The sample size is large, however, there is no data on their age, diet, and health, as well as habits like smoking, which can affect level of hemoglobin and mean number of red blood cells. Moreover, the sample size, although large, varies significantly at each altitude, reducing reliability. This is the comment on the experimental design. Here is the mark scheme, and you can see that the candidate has scored 8 points from here. Next is the common word comment. It follows the exact same style of discuss, except that you can criticize the conclusions, agree with it, or refute it by describing the pattern, suggesting potential explanations, and finally ending with the experimental design. Reviewing another question from May 2024, students test how minerals affect plant growth using four solutions. Solution A has all minerals, solution B lacks nitrate, solution C lacks magnesium, solution D lacks iron. They place five duckweed plants in each solution, ensuring the plants are the same size and healthy. The jars are covered and left in sunlight. After 4 weeks, they count the leaves and observe the size and color. We already know that nitrate is needed for growth and development, whereas magnesium and iron are needed for chlorophyll. Using this knowledge on the table, we can describe and explain the results. First, the description and explanation of the results are addressed. The control solution A had the most number of leaves, the largest size, and darkest color leaves. This is because it had all mineral ions required, like nitrate for growth, magnesium for chlorophyll, and iron for pigment as well as chlorophyll. Solution B had small leaves and the least leaves, as nitrates are required for growth and development. Solution C had medium-sized leaves but one less leaf than solution B, although both had the same color. Solution D had more number of leaves than B and C and medium-sized leaves as it had both magnesium and nitrate but no iron, for which it was very light in color. Then we address the experimental design. However, the area of the leaf should be measured instead of classifying it as a large, medium, and small for a valid comparison. Again, the investigation is to be repeated multiple times with more plants for reliability. Here is the mark scheme, and the candidate has addressed almost all of the points. Now the common word evaluate. Once again, it follows the same format as you would answer a discussed question. However, you must address the advantages or disadvantages if there is any. Moreover, you must develop a proper conclusion based on the points you have made. You may start with your conclusions and then develop your points, or you may develop your points first and then end with your conclusion. For this, we will once again review a question from May 2024. Scientists investigated growth and environmental impact of GM tilapia, which grow faster than non-GM tilapia. They set up two tanks of equal size, one with non-GM tilapia and other with GM tilapia of equal starting mass. Both groups were fed the same mass of protein pellets. After 7 months, they measured each group's mass and calculated their feed conversion index, and then concluded that farming GM tilapia is environmentally better as it would result in lower nitrate levels in water and reduce disease spread. We can see the increase in mass is greater with GM tilapia compared to non-GM tilapia. Moreover, the feed conversion index is also lower for GM tilapia, meaning it is more efficient than non-GM. Here is the candidate's answer. GM tilapia has a lower feed conversion index, meaning they are more efficient at using protein for growth than non-GM tilapia, starting directly with the conclusion. As a result, GM tilapia excretes less urea, which results in less nitrate in water compared to non-GM tilapia. As a result, less bacteria grows, which prevents spread of diseases. This is ultimately better for the environment as it reduces eutrophication and maintains oxygen level in water. The conclusion is followed up by the points to support it, which is the explanation and the advantages. And then the experimental design. The data is reliable for the conclusion as it is for a long period of time. And mean mass of fishes are used. However, number of fishes used not mentioned, age and gender of fish not stated, type of protein pellets used not mentioned, which may affect the results. Although there are some disadvantages like GM tilapia having less variation and being most susceptible to diseases, the candidate has achieved full marks. However, you should always discuss all possible advantages and disadvantages. Here is the mark scheme. Moving on to the common word design. You probably know the format by now from the book or other resources. For designing an experiment, you will always follow the same format that is COMS. Here, the C means change, which is the independent variable. That is what will change. For example, concentration of oxygen. O is the organism involved and the control variables of it. For example, species or age of a plant. R is the number of repeats which can be repeated 5 times or 10 times for reliability. M1 is the measurements you need to make. For example, measuring the volume of oxygen produced. M2 is the time period of the investigation, like how long it will be conducted for. For example, 3 weeks or 3 hours. S1 and S2 are control variables related to the organisms or the environment. For example, the type of food or the temperature. Students may struggle with the measurements and control variables, so we'll briefly show this table which contains possible measurements you may need to make. We will be uploading a file in the description below which will contain even more information for this as well as detailed formats that we have covered in this video. Be sure to check it out. To wrap it up, let's look at a question from May 2024 again. Carbon dioxide can be added to a glass house to increase the yield of a crop plant. Design an investigation to find the carbon dioxide concentration needed for maximum crop yield. Include experimental details in your answer and write in full sentences. Here's a good tip to identify your C, the variable to change, and the O, the organism. It will always be stated in the question. Here, our independent variable is the carbon dioxide concentration, and our organism is the crop plants, which are already stated. Now, here's a sample answer from a student. For this investigation, we will use the same type of crop plants of the same species and same age, starting with the organisms. Then we will use different concentrations of carbon dioxide like 0.04%, 0.06%, 0.07%, etc. The changes we will make. Afterwards, we will measure the yield from the crop plant after 3 weeks. The measurements M1 and M2 together. We will ensure that the crop plants receive the same amount of light and are placed in the same temperature. We will also ensure that they are given the same type of soil, given the same amount of water, and same amount of fertilizer. These are our control variables S1 plus S2. It should be repeated multiple times with more crop plants at each concentration of carbon dioxide. Average yield at each concentration is calculated while avoiding anomalous results and then compared. These are the repeats. So this is all for today. Thank you for watching. If you want us to cover any new topic, be sure to comment below. Don't forget to check out the file we have linked in the description.